My family planned a $15,000 Hawaii Christmas trip and deliberately excluded me. For years, I let my sister Jennifer and her husband Michael live rent-free in my house while I paid all utilities, groceries, and even their car insurance. But when Christmas came, Jennifer convinced my parents I didn't deserve to join the family vacation. So I made one phone call that changed everything, and now they're all begging. Here's how I went from family doormat to the one holding all the power. I'm Patricia, 35, single, and honestly, I thought I had it all figured out. Software engineer pulling in a solid $120,000 a year, owner of a gorgeous 4-bedroom house in the suburbs with the kind of wraparound porch that makes neighbors slow down when they drive by. The place where our family gathered for every holiday, every birthday, every let's just get together because. My house had become the unofficial family headquarters, and I was proud of that. The living room still smells like the vanilla candles I lit for Thanksgiving just 3 weeks ago. Jennifer had brought her famous sweet potato casserole, Michael had carved the turkey at my dining room table, and Mom and Dad had fallen asleep watching football on my sectional sofa. Picture perfect, right? That's what I thought too, until I was sitting in that same living room on December 20th, completely alone, watching my family laugh and splash in Hawaiian surf through a FaceTime call I wasn't supposed to see. Jennifer had accidentally called me instead of our cousin Sarah. Through the phone screen, I could see crystal blue water, palm trees swaying in the background, and my parents looking more relaxed than I'd seen them in years. My dad was wearing a ridiculous Hawaiian shirt, and my mom was actually in a bikini. Something I hadn't seen since I was a kid. They looked happy. Genuinely, radiantly happy. "Oh, shit!" Jennifer's voice came through the speaker as she realized her mistake. "Hey, Patricia, sorry, meant to call Sarah." "Where are you guys?" I asked, even though the answer was obvious. "Hawaii, just a quick family trip. You know how it is." No, I didn't know how it was. Because nobody had mentioned a family trip to me. Not once. The call ended abruptly, leaving me staring at my reflection in the black screen. That's when I noticed the stack of mail on my coffee table. Mail I'd been too busy to sort through for the past week. On top was the American Express statement, and the return address label caught my eye. It was addressed to me, but underneath my name, in smaller print, were the words, "Additional cardholders, Jennifer Martinez, Michael Martinez." I opened it with shaking hands. 4 round-trip tickets to Maui, booked 6 months ago, resort reservations at the Grand Wailea, rental car for 7 days, total cost $14,847, all charged to my credit card. But here's the thing that made my stomach drop to the floor. There were only 4 tickets. Mom, Dad, Jennifer, and Michael. Not 5. 4. I walked to my kitchen where the December electric bill was stuck to my refrigerator with a magnet shaped like a pineapple. Ironic, considering. $412. Just my name on the account. Always just my name. The gas bill tucked underneath it? $308. My name. The internet bill beside it? $149. Also mine. 3 years. For 3 years, Jennifer and Michael had been living in my guest suite, the one with its own entrance and the bathroom I'd renovated specifically for them when Jennifer's divorce was finalized, and she just needed a place to land for a few months. That was in March of 2021. It was now December 2024. 3 years of my mortgage payments, my utility bills, my grocery runs that somehow always included Michael's organic protein powder and Jennifer's expensive face creams. 3 years of being the responsible one, the reliable one, the one who made sure everyone was taken care of, and they'd planned a family vacation without me. The next morning, Jennifer knocked on my door with coffee and one of those smiles that had always made me feel like we were sharing a secret. She was wearing a new sundress I didn't recognize, and her skin had that golden glow that only comes from actual tropical sun. "Hey, sis! Brought you your favorite, vanilla latte with extra shot." I took the coffee, noticing how she avoided eye contact. "How was Hawaii?" "Oh, just a quick thing, super last minute." She settled onto my couch like she owned it, tucking her legs underneath her. "Actually, I wanted to talk to you about something." My heart jumped. Finally, she was going to explain. Maybe apologize. "Michael and I have been thinking about refinancing the house." she continued, pulling out a folder of papers. You know, interest rates are still pretty good, and we could probably get you a better deal. I just need you to sign a few things. I stared at her. Refinancing my house? Well, yeah. I mean, we've been contributing to the household for years now. It only makes sense that we'd have some input on financial decisions that affect all of us. Contributing to the household. I almost laughed, but it came out more like a choking sound. Jennifer, you haven't paid rent in 3 years. Her smile faltered just slightly. Patricia, come on. You know it's not about the money. We're family. We help each other out. Besides, we do plenty around here. Michael fixed your garbage disposal last month. Because he broke it. Don't be like that. Her voice took on that patient tone she used when she thought I was being difficult. Look, I know you're probably feeling a little left out about the Hawaii thing, but honestly, we didn't think you'd want to go. You hate flying, you're always saying how busy you are with work, and you know how you get around crowds. We thought you'd actually prefer to have the house to yourself for a week. Some peace and quiet. I'd never said I hated flying. I'd mentioned once, maybe 2 years ago, that a business trip had turbulence and it made me nervous. As for being too busy with work, I'd been working extra hours specifically to save money for Christmas. And crowds? I literally went to concerts and festivals all the time, but that's not what she was doing, was it? She was rewriting history, making my exclusion sound like a favor. We even talked about maybe planning something local when we got back, she continued, shuffling through her refinancing papers. Like a nice dinner or something. Just the 5 of us. Just the 5 of us. Like we were a complete family unit and Hawaii had been some kind of preliminary event. How long have you been planning the trip? I asked quietly. She paused, pen hovering over the signature line she'd marked with a yellow sticky note. Not long. Like I said, super last minute. Jennifer. Okay, fine. Maybe a few months, but that's exactly my point. You would have stressed about taking time off work, worried about your projects, probably would have backed out at the last minute anyway. This way was better for everyone. Better for everyone. I was starting to understand that when Jennifer said everyone, she meant everyone except me. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept replaying conversations, looking for signs I'd missed. How many family discussions had happened without me? How many decisions had been made in that guest suite about my own life, my own house, my own money? I pulled out my laptop and started going through my credit card statements from the past year. The Hawaii trip was just the most recent charge. There were others. A weekend in Vegas for Jennifer's birthday. I'd been told it was just a girls' trip with her friends. A new television for their room because the old one was acting up. Dinner reservations at expensive restaurants on nights when I was supposedly too tired to join them. All of it charged to my card. All of it for a family that didn't actually include me. Around 3 in the morning, I heard voices from the guest suite. The walls weren't that thick and sound carried through the vents. I couldn't make out words, but I could hear the tone. Jennifer's voice, sharp and frustrated, and Michael's lower rumble responding. They were arguing about something. I crept closer to the vent in my hallway, feeling ridiculous but unable to stop myself. Should have just told her from the beginning, Michael was saying. Told her what? That we can't afford to live anywhere else? That we need her? Jennifer's voice was bitter. She already thinks she's better than us with her fancy job and her perfect little life. Can you imagine if she knew how desperate we actually are? She's not like that, Jen. Patricia's never made us feel. Patricia doesn't have to make us feel anything. We see it every day. The way she talks about her work like it's so important, the way she decorates this place like it's some kind of showroom. God, sometimes I think she keeps us around just so she can feel superior. My legs felt weak. I slid down the wall until I was sitting on the hardwood floor of my own hallway, listening to my sister describe me like I was some kind of monster. The Hawaii thing was perfect, Jennifer continued. Finally, for 1 week, we got to feel like a real family without walking on eggshells around Princess Patricia and her precious mortgage payments. She pays for everything, though. Doesn't that make you feel? Make me feel what? Grateful? Michael, she doesn't pay for everything out of the goodness of her heart. She does it because she likes being needed. She likes being the one in control. This is probably the best thing that could have happened to her, a whole week to play the victim. I pressed my hands against my mouth to keep from making any sound. A whole week to play the victim, as if my hurt was just another performance, another way for me to seek attention. Besides, Jennifer's voice was getting quieter now. It's not like we can afford our own place right now anyway, not with Michael's situation. Michael's situation. I didn't even know Michael had a situation. The next few days passed in a strange fog. Jennifer and Michael went about their normal routines, Michael leaving for work in the morning, Jennifer working her remote customer service job from my kitchen table, both of them using my Wi-Fi, eating my food, leaving their dishes in my sink. But now I noticed things I'd never paid attention to before. How Jennifer always seemed to have packages delivered but never mentioned paying for anything. How Michael's work clothes were always the same 3 shirts, rotated carefully. How they'd both gotten very good at changing the subject whenever I asked about their jobs, their plans, their lives outside of my house. I started paying attention to the group chat notifications on Jennifer's phone when she left it on the counter. There was a family group chat called Christmas Planning that had been active for months. Screenshots popped up occasionally, discussions about flight times, resort amenities, dinner reservations, a whole parallel family life that I wasn't part of. On December 23rd, my parents finally called. "Sweetheart!" Mom's voice was cheerful with that forced brightness that meant she knew something was wrong but was going to pretend everything was fine. "We just got back from the most wonderful trip. You should have seen the sunsets." "I saw some pictures," I said carefully. "Oh, good. Jennifer said she was going to show you. We got you something beautiful, a pearl necklace from this little shop in Lahaina. Very authentic. A souvenir. They'd bought me a souvenir from the family vacation I wasn't invited to." "That's thoughtful." "Patricia, honey, you sound upset. Is everything okay?" I could have said it then. Could have asked why I wasn't invited, why nobody thought to include me, why they'd charged $15,000 to my credit card for a trip I wasn't even told about. But something in my mother's tone stopped me, that careful, walking on eggshells quality that meant this conversation had been planned. "I'm fine, Mom." "Good, good. Listen, your father and I want to talk to you about something. Jennifer mentioned that you seemed a little... Well, she's worried about you. She thinks maybe you're working too hard, isolating yourself. She's concerned that you might be feeling left out of family things. But honey, you know you're always welcome. We just didn't want to pressure you." "Didn't want to pressure me." That was a new one. "We know how busy you are," Dad's voice joined in. They had me on speaker. "And honestly, sweetheart, you've been so generous, letting Jennifer and Michael stay with you, helping them get back on their feet. We didn't want to add more stress by making you feel obligated to spend money on an expensive vacation. Making me feel obligated to spend money, on my own credit card, for a vacation they'd planned without me. The thing is," Mom continued, "Jennifer's been going through a really hard time lately. The divorce was brutal, and Michael's been struggling to find steady work. They need us right now, and sometimes that means making decisions that put their needs first. I hope you understand." I understood perfectly. Jennifer's needs came first. Michael's needs came first. Their comfort, their financial security, their emotional well-being. All of it took priority over including me and my own family. "We love you so much, sweetheart," Mom said, and I could hear the tears in her voice. "We just want everyone to be happy." Everyone. There was that word again. Everyone, except me. After I hung up, I sat in my living room, the room where Jennifer and Michael watched my Netflix account on my television, where they ate takeout I'd paid for while planning vacations I'd funded but couldn't attend. The Christmas tree in the corner was decorated with ornaments I'd collected over the years, lights I'd strung myself while Jennifer and Michael were out at dinner with friends I'd never met. I was 35 years old, sitting alone in my own house, and I finally understood what my family really thought of me. I wasn't Jennifer's sister or my parents' daughter. I was a resource, a credit card with feelings, a mortgage payment with a heartbeat. And the worst part? They genuinely seemed to believe they were protecting me by excluding me. Like my feelings were so fragile, My social skills so poor, my presence so burdensome that the kindest thing they could do was plan a family life that didn't include me. That night, I didn't sleep at all. I lay in bed listening to the sound of my sister and her husband living their lives in my house, using my electricity, my water, my internet, planning their next moves in the space I'd provided with the security I'd given them. Tomorrow was Christmas Eve. In all my 35 years, I'd never spent Christmas alone. The thought terrified me, but as I lay there in the dark, another thought started forming. A thought that felt dangerous and liberating at the same time. Maybe it was time I learned what alone actually felt like. Maybe it was time my family learned what life looked like without their convenient, reliable, always available Patricia funding their dreams and absorbing their guilt. Maybe it was time to find out who I really was when I wasn't being everyone's ATM. Christmas Eve morning came with the sound of Jennifer making coffee in my kitchen, humming some pop song I didn't recognize. I could hear Michael in the shower using the expensive shampoo I'd bought last week. Normal sounds of people living their normal lives in my house, completely unaware that everything was about to change. I stayed in bed until I heard them leave for last-minute shopping, then crept downstairs like a stranger in my own home. The kitchen counter was covered with their breakfast dishes, coffee rings staining the marble I'd saved 3 months to afford. Jennifer's laptop was open on the table, and I could see the edge of a browser tab that made my stomach clench. Apartments for rent, Hawaii. They were looking at places in Hawaii, while living rent-free in my house. I sat down at my computer and did something I'd never done before. I Googled financial abuse in families. The first article that came up felt like someone had been watching my life through a window. When family members exploit your resources, recognizing financial manipulation in close relationships. The checklist was devastating in its accuracy. Does your family member expect you to pay for their expenses without contributing equally? Check. Do they make financial decisions that affect you without your input? Check. Do they use emotional manipulation to justify their financial dependence? Check. Do they exclude you from family activities while still expecting your financial support? That one hit like a physical blow. Check. Do they reframe your legitimate concerns as character flaws, being controlling, selfish, or difficult? I could hear Jennifer's voice. Don't be like that, Patricia. The article went on to explain something called parentification, when adult children are forced into a caretaker role, providing financial and emotional support while receiving little in return. It described the isolation that came with it, how the caretaker often became the family scapegoat, blamed for any tension their boundaries might create. I read that sentence 3 times. Blamed for any tension their boundaries might create. I'd never set boundaries. In 3 years, I'd never once said no to Jennifer and Michael. I'd never asked for rent, never questioned their expenses, never demanded to be included in decisions about my own money. I'd been so afraid of being seen as controlling or selfish that I'd let them control everything. My phone buzzed with a text from my cousin Sarah. Hey, weird question, but did you not go to Hawaii with everyone? I saw the pics on Facebook but didn't see you in any. Sarah. My dad's sister's daughter, 2 years younger than me, living in Portland with her wife and twin toddlers. We'd been close as kids but had drifted apart after college. I stared at her message for 10 minutes before typing back. I wasn't invited. The response came immediately. What? Are you serious? Long story. Call me. Now. Sarah picked up on the first ring. Patricia, what the hell? I literally saw your parents posting about this amazing family vacation, and I was wondering why you looked different in the photos. Turns out it's because you weren't in the photos. It's complicated, I started, but Sarah cut me off. No, it's not. Either you're family or you're not. You don't get to be family when they need money and not family when they want to have fun. Sorry, she paused, and I could hear one of her twins babbling in the background. Patricia, can I tell you something? About why Jake and I moved to Portland? Jake was Sarah's wife. They'd left Denver 5 years ago, supposedly for better job opportunities. My parents were doing the same thing to us, Sarah said quietly. Not as bad as what you're describing, but similar. Always needed help with this or that. Always had reasons why we should be the ones to sacrifice. When the twins were born, my mom actually suggested we move back in with them temporarily to save money. Said it would be good for the babies to be around grandparents. That sounds nice, though. It would have been, except they wanted us to pay their mortgage while we lived there, and they wanted Jake to be a live-in babysitter for my brother's kids whenever he needed it, and they wanted me to handle all their medical appointments and bills because I was the organized one. We would have been paying to be their caretakers while raising newborn twins. I felt something click into place. So you left? We left, and you know what happened? They were furious, called us selfish, ungrateful, said we were abandoning family. My mom didn't speak to me for 6 months, but you know what else happened? What? They figured it out. They managed just fine without us. All those things they needed help with? Somehow they handled them, because they'd always been capable of handling them. They just didn't want to as long as someone else would do it for them. After I hung up with Sarah, I sat in my living room looking at the Christmas tree I'd decorated alone, in the house I'd bought alone, surrounded by evidence of a life I'd built that everyone else got to enjoy. The anger that had been simmering for days finally boiled over. I wasn't just angry about Hawaii. I was angry about 3 years of being taken for granted. I was angry about being treated like an ATM. I was angry about being excluded from my own family while funding their lifestyle. But mostly, I was angry at myself for letting it happen. I opened my laptop and started making lists. Spreadsheets, actually, because I'm an engineer, and that's how I process things. First spreadsheet. Every expense I'd covered for Jennifer and Michael over the past 3 years. Utilities, groceries, household supplies, their car insurance. When had I even agreed to that? Their phone bill, since when? Eating out, entertainment, clothes, gifts for their friends, medical expenses. The total was $47,382. Second spreadsheet. Every family event I'd hosted, paid for, or contributed to while they lived with me. Birthday parties, holiday dinners, graduation celebrations for our cousins' kids, anniversary dinners for my parents. Another $12,000. Third spreadsheet. Every bill, every responsibility, every adult obligation that was solely in my name despite 3 adults living in the house. Mortgage, insurance, property taxes, all utilities, internet, streaming services, house maintenance, yard care. Everything. I called my bank. Hi, I need to remove authorized users from my credit cards. Of course. Can I get your account number? It took 20 minutes to remove Jennifer and Michael from all my cards. 20 minutes to undo 3 years of blind trust. Next, I called my internet provider, my electric company, my gas company, my water department. I wanted to transfer the accounts to Jennifer's name, but there was a problem. You can't transfer utilities to someone without their permission and a credit check. What's the process for disconnecting service? I asked each representative. Finally, I called my lawyer. Not my family lawyer. Jennifer knew him. I found a stranger, a woman named Rebecca Chin who specialized in tenant law. I need to give notice to some house guests, I explained. How long have they been staying with you? 3 years? Do they pay rent? No. Do you have any written agreement? No. Are they on any utilities or official documents related to the property? No. Rebecca was quiet for a moment. Ms. Taylor, in the state of California, someone who has been residing in a property for over 30 days is considered a tenant regardless of whether they pay rent. You'll need to give proper legal notice, 30 days for month-to-month tenancy. What if they refuse to leave? Then you file for unlawful detainer. But most people leave when they get official notice. It makes things real in a way that family conversations don't. By the time Jennifer and Michael came home that evening, I had all the paperwork ready. 30-day notice to quit, printed on official legal letterhead. A spreadsheet showing the total amount they'd cost me over 3 years. A timeline for transferring all utilities to their names. And a letter explaining that our living arrangement was ending on January 23rd. I heard them come in through the front door, laughing about something, shopping bags rustling. They dumped their purchases on the kitchen counter, expensive cheese, good wine, organic vegetables, all charged to a credit card they no longer had access to. Patricia? Jennifer called. We bought stuff for dinner tonight. Want to help cook? I walked downstairs with my folder of papers. Jennifer was opening a bottle of wine that cost more than I usually spent on groceries in a week. Michael was arranging cheese on a board, humming the same song Jennifer had been humming that morning. They looked up when they saw me standing there with the folder. "What's all that?" Jennifer asked, but her voice had changed. The cheerful shopping mood was gone, replaced by something wary. "I need to talk to both of you." Michael turned off the music. Jennifer set down her wine glass. I handed them each a copy of the notice. "You have 30 days to find another place to live." The silence stretched for what felt like hours. Jennifer read the notice twice, her face going through a series of expressions: confusion, disbelief, anger. "Patricia, what the hell is this?" she finally said. "It's exactly what it says. You need to move out by January 23rd. "You can't be serious." Michael's voice was quiet, but I could see his hands shaking slightly. "This is about Hawaii, isn't it? You're throwing us out because of one vacation?" "This isn't about one vacation," I said, and my voice was steadier than I'd expected. "This is about 3 years of you treating me like a bank account instead of a sister. This is about planning family events with my money and not including me. This is about listening to you complain about how superior I act while you live rent-free in my house." Jennifer's eyes went wide. "You were listening to us?" "The walls are thin." You weren't exactly whispering. "Patricia, look, if this is about money, we can figure something out," Michael said, stepping forward. "I know we've been behind on contributing, but things are getting better. I might have a promotion coming up." "Stop." I held up my hand. "Just stop. I don't want your money. I want you out of my house." "This is insane," Jennifer said, her voice rising. "You can't just throw family out on the street. It's Christmas Eve. You charged $15,000 to my credit card for a family vacation I wasn't invited to. On Christmas. We were going to pay you back. With what money? You've been looking at apartments in Hawaii. Were you planning to pay me back from there too?" Jennifer's face flushed red. "You went through my computer? You left it open on my kitchen table, in my house, that I pay for." "Patricia, please," Michael said, and now he really did look panicked. "You don't understand our situation. We can't just leave. We don't have anywhere to go. You should have thought about that before you decided I wasn't family enough to include in your Hawaii plans." "That's not what happened," Jennifer said, but her voice was getting desperate. "We explained this. We thought you'd be happier." "No." I was surprised by how firm my own voice sounded. "You thought you'd be happier without me. And you know what? You were right. You looked happier in those photos than I've ever seen you. So now you get to figure out how to be that happy without my house, my money, and my credit cards." I could see them both processing this, trying to figure out how to fix it. Jennifer stepped closer, switching to the voice she used when she wanted something. "Patricia, come on. We're family. We love you. You know that, right? Sometimes families have misunderstandings, but we work through them. We don't just give up." "You gave up when you planned a secret family vacation for 6 months and didn't include me. You gave up when you charged it to my credit card. You gave up when you told our parents I was too antisocial and difficult to include." I handed her the spreadsheet. "But I didn't give up. I've been supporting you for 3 years. $47,000, Jennifer. That's how much I gave up for family." She stared at the number. Michael looked over her shoulder and I watched his face go white. "The utilities transfer to your names on January 1st, I continued. "The internet gets disconnected on January 2nd. You have 30 days to find somewhere else to live. Those are the boundaries I'm setting." "You can't do this," Jennifer said, but her voice was smaller now. "Mom and Dad will never forgive you." "Maybe not. But at least I'll finally know who I am when I'm not being everyone's ATM." I turned to go back upstairs, leaving them standing in my kitchen with their expensive cheese and wine and the notice that would change all our lives. "Patricia, wait," Jennifer called after me. "We can talk about this. We can work something out. Don't do something you'll regret." I stopped on the stairs and looked back at them. The only thing I regret is letting this go on for 3 years. That night, I could hear them talking through the vents again, but this time, they weren't whispering. They were fighting, really fighting, the kind of desperate argument that happens when people realize their safety net is disappearing. "Never should have excluded her from Hawaii," Michael was saying. How were we supposed to know she'd react like this? It's not like Patricia to be vindictive. It's not vindictive, Jen. It's fair. We've been taking advantage of her and you know it. Taking advantage? She's our family. Families help each other. Families include each other. When's the last time we did something nice for Patricia? When's the last time we paid for dinner or bought groceries or hell, even cleaned the house without being asked? There was a long silence. She'll change her mind, Jennifer said finally. She always does. Patricia doesn't like conflict. She'll feel guilty and take it back. But I wasn't going to take it back. For the first time in 3 years, I felt like I could breathe in my own house. Christmas morning was surreal. Jennifer and Michael barely spoke to me, moving around the kitchen like ghosts. They made coffee but didn't offer me any. They sat on the couch watching Christmas movies on my Netflix account, but the volume was turned down low, like they were afraid to take up too much space. My parents called around noon. I let it go to voicemail, then listened to the message while Jennifer and Michael pretended not to eavesdrop. "Sweetheart, Merry Christmas. We're home now and we'd love to see you today. Jennifer told us you might be going through a difficult time right now and we want you to know we're here for you. Sometimes the holidays can be overwhelming, especially when we're dealing with changes. Why don't you come over for dinner? We can talk through whatever's bothering you." Whatever's bothering me. Like I was having some kind of breakdown instead of finally standing up for myself. I didn't call them back. Instead, I spent Christmas Day researching apartments online, reading tenant law websites, and planning what my life might look like with my house to myself. I ordered Chinese takeout and ate it at my kitchen table while Jennifer and Michael stayed hidden in their room. The next day, reality started setting in. Jennifer came to my bedroom door, not exactly knocking, but sort of scratching at it like a cat. "Patricia, can we talk?" I opened the door. She looked terrible. Red eyes, messy hair, still wearing yesterday's clothes. "I called some apartments," she said quietly. "The cheapest one-bedroom I can find is $1,800 a month, plus first and last month's rent and security deposit. That's $5,400 just to move in." I waited. "Michael's job. It's not as stable as we've been saying. He's technically still on probation, and my customer service thing only pays about $1,200 a month." Her voice was getting smaller. "We don't have $5,400, Patricia. We don't have $500. Then you need to figure something out. What if we paid rent? Like, actual rent? Would you consider letting us stay if we contributed?" "How much rent?" "I don't know. What's fair? Like, maybe $600 a month?" $600? For a guest suite in a house where the mortgage was $2,800, utilities ran about $600, and they'd been costing me nearly $1,500 a month in other expenses. $600 was less than they'd spend on groceries and entertainment in a typical month. "No." "800? Jennifer, this isn't about money anymore. This is about respect. This is about being treated like family instead of like a credit card. You can't rent your way back into that." She started crying then, the ugly kind of crying that comes when you realize you've lost something and it's your own fault. "I'm sorry," she sobbed. "I'm sorry about Hawaii. I'm sorry about the money. I'm sorry we made you feel left out. We were just trying to survive, and you made it so easy to lean on you." "Too easy. Please don't make us leave. Please. I know we messed up, but we're family. We're supposed to forgive each other." I looked at my sister, really looked at her. 32 years old, beautiful, charming, capable of convincing anyone of anything. She'd convinced my parents I was antisocial. She'd convinced Michael that using me was acceptable. She'd convinced herself that excluding me from family events was kindness, and now she was trying to convince me that family meant accepting abuse as long as it came with apologies. "You're right," I said. "Family should forgive each other, so I'm sure you'll forgive me for finally putting myself first." The next few days blurred together. Jennifer and Michael started reaching out to everyone they knew, looking for places to stay. I heard phone calls through the vents, desperate conversations with friends who had their own problems, family members who couldn't or wouldn't help. My parents called repeatedly. I finally answered on December 28th. "Patricia, sweetheart, what's going on? Jennifer is beside herself. She says you're making them move out." I am. But honey, it's almost January. It's cold. They don't have anywhere to go. They should have thought about that before they decided I wasn't important enough to include in family decisions. This is about Hawaii? Sweetheart, we explained that. We were trying to be considerate. No, Mom, you were trying to be convenient. It was convenient to leave me out of the planning and convenient to use my money to pay for it. Patricia, that's not fair. We love you. We would never deliberately hurt you. Maybe not deliberately, but you did hurt me. And when I tried to express that hurt, everyone told me I was wrong to feel it. Everyone told me I should be grateful to be excluded because it meant less stress for me. Everyone told me I was too sensitive, too difficult, too antisocial to be included in my own family. I could hear my mom crying on the other end of the line. We never said those things. You didn't have to say them directly. You showed me with your actions, and now I'm showing you with mine. Patricia, please, don't do something you can't take back. Don't destroy your relationship with your sister over a misunderstanding. I'm not destroying anything, Mom. I'm just finally stopping fixing it. On New Year's Eve, Jennifer and Michael finally found a solution. Michael's brother in Sacramento said they could stay with him temporarily, sleep on his couch, help with his kids, figure out their next move from there. We'll be out by January 15th, Jennifer told me, her voice flat and defeated. Earlier than your deadline. I hope that makes you happy. I hope it makes you self-sufficient. This isn't over, Patricia. You can't just cut us off and pretend we don't exist. We're still your family. Then start acting like it. The morning they left, I stood at my front window and watched Michael load their belongings into a borrowed pickup truck. It wasn't much stuff, 3 years of living in my house, and they could fit everything they owned in the back of a truck. Jennifer came to the door one last time, not to apologize or argue, but to hand me a key, the key to my own house that I'd given her 3 years ago when she was scared and broken and needed somewhere safe to land. I want you to know, she said, that you're making a mistake. Family is supposed to forgive. Family is supposed to help each other through hard times. What you're doing, it's not who you are. I looked at my sister, this person who had shared my childhood, my memories, my home for 3 years. This person who had convinced my parents that excluding me from family events was kindness. This person who had charged $15,000 to my credit card for a vacation I wasn't invited to. You're right, I said. It's not who I was, but it's exactly who I'm choosing to be. So, they drove away, and I was alone in my house for the first time in 3 years. The silence was extraordinary. No one using my shower, my kitchen, my internet. No one leaving dishes in my sink or crumbs on my counter. No one having loud phone conversations in my living room or watching TV shows I didn't like on my Netflix account. Just silence and space, and the sound of my own footsteps on the hardwood floors I'd chosen, in the house I'd bought, with the money I'd earned. I walked through every room, seeing it with new eyes. My bedroom, where I could sleep without worrying about utilities bills or grocery costs, or whether my house guests were planning my life without me. My kitchen, where I could cook what I wanted, when I wanted, without accommodating anyone else's dietary restrictions or preferences. My living room, where I could watch whatever I wanted on the TV I'd bought with money I'd earned at the job I'd worked while supporting 3 adults. For the first time in 3 years, I felt like I was home. On January 2nd, I did something I'd never done in my entire adult life. I took a vacation day for no reason except that I wanted to. I drove to the beach, 2 hours away, and sat on the sand watching waves crash against the shore. I bought myself an expensive lunch at a seafood restaurant overlooking the ocean. I got a massage at a spa I'd always wanted to try but never felt like I could justify the expense. I spent money on myself. Money that would have gone to Jennifer's organic face creams or Michael's protein powder or another family dinner where I cooked and cleaned and paid while they planned their next adventure without me. My phone buzzed with a text from my mom. "How are you doing, sweetheart? We're worried about you." I typed back, "I'm at the beach. I'm doing great." "By yourself? On a Tuesday?" "By choice. On my vacation day." I turned off my phone and walked barefoot in the sand, feeling the cold Pacific water rush over my feet. The sun was setting, painting the sky orange and pink and purple. And for the first time in years, I wasn't worried about getting home to cook dinner for anyone or check on anyone or make sure anyone else was happy. I was just Patricia, 35 years old, standing on a beach I'd driven to in a car I'd paid for, watching a sunset I'd never seen before because I'd finally learned the difference between being alone and being lonely. Being alone was peaceful. Being lonely was what I'd felt for 3 years while surrounded by family who saw me as a resource instead of a person. The beach was definitely better.